Hi, everyone. Then some, and then some. But, it was a very exciting day. So let's get started. 1,000. Well, no, not 1,000, 2,000. Yeah, 2,000. And 4 days since Richard was. Yeah, let's make sure I'm on. I'm just getting notice now. Okay, sorry about that. I'm just too quick. Okay, so hi, everybody. This is day 2004. 2004 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss. He was a distinguished honor graduate for his cycle and basic training and AIT. He was a guidon bearer, combat lifesaver, was promoted before his peers with waivers, was wanting to be a CID agent, really aspired to law enforcement. His record is totally stellar, y'all. He has been smeared, of course, by an institution that was up to no good, and we can see that um, clearly. I don't think I have any problems convincing anybody that the institution targeted our son, smeared our son and in the media to discredit him as the whistleblower that he was, a major whistleblower, connecting the military there at Fort Bliss with the Walmart mass shooting case, and also with the worst type of crimes against children and criminal trafficking by the infiltrated into our military cartel with, I would say it's a Mormon faction cartel connection with 100% certainty, because the evidence absolutely declares it with certainty, 100%. And that's why I can come on and say this for years and years, day after day, for years, y'all. I can say this. I've been saying the Mormon common denominator, the faction that's tied to the cartel. We've traced it back to the colonies because of the colonies in Chihuahua, Mexico, and that have infiltrated into Fort Bliss and into Fort Huachuca. Okay, the Fort Huachuca area and the Fort Bliss area. The Fort Huachuca really came on the scene with what happened with Charlie Kirk. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, the awful taking of his life, and the witness testimony of Mitch Snow, um, seeing these key players, including Charlie Kirk's wife, uh, at Fort Huachuca before Charlie Kirk's life was taken. And we know that Fort Huachuca, because of it being TRADOC, because of it being military intelligence, and our first CAO was a symmetric warfare officer. We knew he was TRADOC. We know Hardy Hay was TRADOC, giving us false information and misleading us and really ripping us off of thousands of dollars, that they were interfering at the beginning, um, trying to mislead us and take us in directions that would distract from what really happened to our son. A code red, a internal, um, that he was taken forcibly out of his barracks room, taken to the arms room down in the basement of that same building, and that his life was taken from him with the cooperation um, by the department, the director of emergency services, Thomas Kane. Um, this was a military hit on our son, and it included CID, it included mortuary operations, it included agencies, institutions, media in El Paso. It included narco politicians such as um, Veronica Escobar, with her ties to Beto O'Rourke, um, and of course Kamala Harris and the Bidens and them. And Beto O'Rourke is a big player in all of this in a very, very bad way. And now we have today breaking news. Um, because law enforcement, we broke the case this week in the Walmart mass shooting. What do I mean by that? In the Walmart shooting case that happened August 3rd, 2019. I mean that there was a false narrative presented. Do I mean that nobody lost their life? No, of course not. We know people lost their lives there, but there are multiple shooters, and there is at least one more shooter. We believe it's more than that, at large. At large, that has not been charged because of the obstruction and interference in that case that is totally tied to our son's case. Don't forget that Gerhard Hofmann, Alexander Gerhard Hofmann, that is laying there. We have the raw footage of that laying there in the doorway, the front doorway. Well, further in than that, further in than the inside the Walmart at the west door entry. Um, with you know, it was a absolutely a professional headshot. It's a terrible, terrible thing to see. Um, he's a German national, okay? And his family, you have to understand this, his family later in 2020 was in possession of our son's credit cards and other financial documents, information. So this is, and there's way more, but that is really important, because we don't deny that Alexander is laying there um, with a headshot, right? We don't deny that at all. We don't deny the Unchandos. We don't deny um, Maria Eugenia Lagaret Roth in the parking lot. We have those raw pictures also. Um, and Memo Garcia with, I believe, his family members there in the front of the Walmart. But we know, we have it confirmed, and law enforcement has confirmed it today on a Sunday, on a Sunday, on a Sunday, that we were contacted today and absolutely confirm that the Walmart mass shooting, massive, massive interference, okay? And that our son's case, also massive interference, that the two are tied together, same individuals, and it's connected to Fort Bliss. It's connected to Fort Bliss, and politics, right? Because the main motive for the false narrative and all the false information that was coming out was to frame it to be a political hit on President Trump to interfere with the 2020 election. They wanted to get out a false narrative that this was a lone shooter with no ties. Well, we know that that Patrick Crucius's ties are very, very big. They go all the way to like Oprah, right? They go to Oprah, they go to Beto, they go to John of God. They absolutely, you know, have El Paso ties into the federal courthouse, into the DA's office and the FBI, and the Walmart cybersecurity and mental health and Texas Tech University Health Science Center. Patrick Crucius Patsy has absolute major connections in El Paso with this group, and we broke this news this week, and because of that, um, more and more law enforcement is going to come out, um, because they know they're corroborating, they see the writing on the wall, um, and and you know that's why this case that I'll talk about also today, Peter Melendez, is so important. Is so important, because uh, for so long, um, there's been so much harassment, so much coercion, right? So much coercion, so many threats, so much harassment. And we have broken the case to say, look, um, Alexander Gerhard Hofmann, one of the victims, uh, was laying there and not alive and already with a big long blood trail before Patrick Crucius even came into the Walmart. Okay. So that proves that there were multiple shooters and that there is at least one, right? More shooter at large. We believe there's more. And that needs to be investigated. And those that participated in this, of course, Judge Madrano, of course, Joe Spencer, of course, Justin Underwood, of course, Felix Valenzuela, of course, so many others that were bullied. I know that Loretta Lynn Hewitt, also the prosecutor, she was very bullied. And that's why and we saw that she testified to that. They took her notebook away that confirmed that Patrick Crucius, neighbors and family there confirmed that he had severe autism since childhood, banging his head on the sidewalk, couldn't tie his shoes, couldn't even speak until he was 6, and uh, failed kindergarten and had other severe mental health conditions. And this was really an important point that she made, and that it was in her notebook, and her notebook was taken away because there was no mental health evaluation that's required by Texas state law um, when you're undergoing um, this kind of hearing and trials and all of that. And Patsy was facing the death penalty. And so this was very important because it botched the case. The whole case has been interfered with and botched early on. And there was a lot of harassment and bullying. And we know that government officials now are telling us that this death, and if you haven't heard of it, it's very important. It really is. A constable in the DA's office has lost his life. His name is Peter Melendez. And, our hearts go out to his family because our information that we're getting is that something is really stinky behind this, and that he was an investigator for the DA's office and really doing his job well. And when you do that, you get harassed, you get targeted. And our sources, multiple government officers, are confirming that there seems to be major targeting of Peter Melendez before he lost his life. So and there's no, the media is not covering it, And the media should absolutely cover when a constable in the DA's office that works in the county courthouse, when he loses his life, that should be covered in the media, and the media is not covering it. So we want to really cover it. I posted today on it because it shows that when you're a whistleblower or when you're doing your job well, or um, like Richard, like Judge Roger Rodriguez, the whistleblowers that we know. We even believe Vanessa Guillen was a whistleblower. So many whistleblowers in this that they get targeted. And with Richard, he lost his life. And so we are very suspicious because all of the information coming out of, or the lack of information coming out of the DA's office is suspicious when it comes to Peter Melendez. And we know that that office has no DA, okay? That um, James Bonneau Montoya is an imposter. He's a fake. He's a fraud. They have no legitimate DA because he did not install properly into the position which is required by the Texas Constitution to be the district attorney of the 34th Judicial District. He did not do that. So they have no DA, and he's just impersonating one, which is a real problem legally because the constable, the investigator, they have to be deputized by the district attorney. If the district attorney is not there and somebody else, like an impersonator, is doing that, well, then that doesn't count, does it? If if there's no DA, legal DA, and an impersonator is pretending to deputize people, that's just a pretend. That's just an impersonation. That's, um, it's fake. It's absolutely fake. And so this is why Peter Melendez's death is such a problem for the DA's office, because when questions are asked, and look at the media's not even covering it. They should be asking the question: how did he die? When did he die? Where did he die? What are all the circumstances surrounding it? And I'm sure the family wants those answers too. I'm sure they do. And so, and especially when you're going through this terrible loss, please say prayers for them. Please absolutely say prayers for them. Send them your warmest wishes or condolences, because it's pretty brutal out there, in this DA environment under this imposter, James Bonneau Montoya, that absolutely is so involved with the obstruction and interference in our son's case and in the Walmart shooting case. So if you have some angst, if you have some, yeah, angst, take it out on writing a complaint about the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. That is the best way to use that energy when you're just so fed up with all of this crime that is being allowed to happen, and the lack of justice. So, yeah, a good letter complaining about this 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. Um, so that is really our breaking news today. Uh, Here it is after 1 o'clock, and um, we're just going. We're just going. We are. This is getting serious. This is getting very serious. I know people are very concerned about what's the rhetoric with ICE, what's going on with ICE. Absolutely. We know 100% after going through these 5 years that we have infiltrators in our agencies, in our law enforcement, in our institutions. Okay, we absolutely do. We have bad actors, and we have those that are put there on purpose to manipulate the politics. And clearly, clearly, they want President Trump out of office, and they want to control you know, the judicial system, right? The legal and judicial system, so that they can act with impunity. That is very, very clear to us. And so, are there bad actors in our agencies like FBI, like ICE, like absolutely there are. But are there good actors too? Yes. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And what I want to really make clear about this latest shooting, that the media is not covering correctly. Okay, they're not covering it correctly. And neither was Kash Patel. What Kash Patel, how he talked about this shooting was really ridiculous, to be honest with you. And I'm a big Hope and fan. I don't think fan is a good word. I have a lot of hope, because I understand what's happening behind the scenes. I understand the mutiny that they're under. And so I'm a supporter, and a lot of hope in Kash Patel and what they're doing, because what they are facing is just, it's, yeah, we need the support of the people, because we're a government of the people, by the people, for the people. But I think what he did, explaining what happened in Minneapolis with Alex, oh, Preddy, was a big mistake. It was a really big mistake, because it's not coming with a gun. That is the problem. The interference and the training to obstruct law enforcement, right? Um, uh, to incite anger or whatever in the law enforcement, to go there and blow whistles in their face, to go there and park their car right in front. And and they have, like, the right to protest, but they are engaging with the law enforcement and obstructing their work. And they can't do that. They can hold signs up, right? They can even bring their gun, right? If they have the legal right to bring their gun, they can even bring their gun. But to obstruct, to get to the face, to interfere with law enforcement doing their jobs, that they can't do that. They can't do that. That's like someone coming into a church and wanting to obstruct and interfere with the worship service, right? Like we just saw, which was absolutely illegal. So, the big point that would help this situation would be oversight to the ICE agents as well as law enforcement, is if the state and the federal would work together. Then they could do checks and balances with each other. There's oversight with that. Even the municipal law enforcement could be there. Of course, they have jurisdictions and all of that, but just being there and assisting and helping and cooperating would also, and letting them know you're there and watching, would also um, uh, really calm things down and prevent a lot, restrain um, any improprieties, right, from going on. And this is where um, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, and the mayor of Minneapolis, Fry, right? Mayor Fry, where they are culpable, I believe that they are absolutely culpable, because they're inciting more protesters, putting protesters in the line of fire, putting the protesters, who might not understand that this is a different administration, that they can't get away with burning a city, right? And calling it a peaceful protest. That they can't get in the face of ICE, and not expect for ICE to march forward and do their job. And so this is it's just a new time. And uh, I don't think Tim Walz and Mayor Fry understand what they're doing, or they do, and they want to hurt protesters, right? They want to hurt protesters. I believe they really want that for political narrative, right? They want it for political narrative. Um, so uh, you can be checks and balance, and know that we back our blue, but our blue also needs to be restrained. We don't want tyranny. We don't want a lawless law enforcement. Um, but we also know that we have been invaded, and those invaders, um, call them illegal aliens or illegal migrants. They a lot of them are up to no good, or all of them are in grave danger, at risk of being exploited, at risk of being a slave to this group that wants them here to exploit them. So that is really, food for thought for everybody, that these illegals are putting their lives at risk, their future at risk, their children at risk. They need to leave. They need to be deported, self deport, go back home, and then apply legally. And then when you come, you can live freely without the fear of being blackmailed and harassed. And look at what Soroldi did with these Cuban women, right? The Cuban women. He was their immigration attorney, and he was exploiting them because they didn't want to go back, right? They didn't want to go back, and he was exploiting them. And he needs to be prosecuted to the full measure. But we have Montoya botched. He's just a botch, and he's so botched that he doesn't know the difference between a victim and a prostitute, right? He doesn't know the difference between the two. So he's very botched. And Soroldi, we'll see what all happens with that. But that is a big point about how illegal immigration really puts that population in grave danger and grave risk. So I just want to say thank you to the government officials, to the law enforcement that reached out, that gave us all this good information. I asked really for continuing prayers for Peter Melendez. It's very, very big, y'all. It really is. What's going on with that case cannot be allowed to happen. There needs to be transparency, and not to, no, it just can't be. So, and of course, the media doesn't even want you to know, because we are um, governed by the people, for the people, and of the people. And that's why they really control media so much. So come to Find Richard Halliday Facebook page to get the latest, and so many different stories and information. And we try very, very hard to give you absolutely accurate information, breaking news information, and we try to be very genuine. This we don't monetize, So false statements, if you want to write a good review, we really appreciate that because that helps move the page out even more. And we are getting a lot of traction. So any help that you can give with sharing and everything, it's just bringing us to the goal line. It's bringing us to the goal line, which is to repatriate our son's remains and hold those that did this accountable. And holding them accountable is also holding those that engaged in the Walmart mass shooting, um, the crime and the cover up. And so there's so, I was just thinking Manny Chavira. That's what I was thinking in my brain, Manny Chavira, because he connects so many things as well with our son's case, with the Walmart shooting case, and and it's all coming out. So I just want to thank everyone again for coming on so late, for your prayers. Thank you, Anicia, for your prayers and your love, and Laura also for yours. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.